So we naturally lose muscle and strength as a part of aging, but this process is going to be massively accelerated if you're only skating slappies or you've lowered the intensity of your sessions. So if you're an older skater who feels like he can't handle anything else other than slappies, or a younger skater who wants to skate as long as they can and they're dreading that moment when they're going to be summoned to slap the curb, then this video is going to be for you. I'm going to be going over what you need to do to reduce those losses in muscle and strength so you can maintain a higher level of skating for longer and actually feel good whilst doing it. So I know it doesn't seem this way as most skaters don't work out, but muscle and strength are essential for skateboarding. They're essential to protect your joints from damage, to help you absorb the impact from jumping down gaps, or just repetitive lower level impact from long sessions. And then of course they're going to help you jump onto ledges to balance in slides and grinds, and even skate slappies. The thing is though, when we get to about 30 to 40 years old, we're actually going to progressively lose muscle and strength as just a natural part of aging. And along with that's going to come a loss in things like power, balance, speed, and literally all of the bodily shit that we need to actually skate. This is going to cause skating to take more effort, our energy is going to drop, we're going to feel more sore and literally less motivated to skate, which is probably why it's so hard to get your older friends out for a session. Now I know many people enjoy skating slappies, but for a lot it's literally just a low impact option because they feel like their bodies can't handle much else. Now regardless of what your reason for skating slappies, if that's all you're going to be doing, you're going to be accelerating that loss in muscle and strength, and it's going to be a vicious circle where you continue to lose muscle and strength and you continue to feel like you have to lower the intensity of your session. Alright, it isn't all bad news though, because even though losing some muscle and strength is a natural and unavoidable part of aging, there's still a lot you can do. You still have a lot of power over how severe and quick that process is going to hit you. So one of the biggest influences on how fast we lose muscle and strength is literally just how active you are. So people, as they get older, they tend to exercise less, they sit down more, and the things that they do are just much less intense. And in the same way, as skaters get older as well, they seem to gravitate towards more lower intensity spots like slappies and skating flat and stuff like this. But the thing is, with the body, you lose what you don't use. So if you're not using that muscle and strength for more intense movements like you used to when you're younger, your body's not going to see any reason to hang on to it. Now, lowering the intensity of how we skate and the things we do as we get older does make sense to a certain degree. I doubt we're ever going to see anyone skating Hollywood high at 70 plus. But if we look at people like Reynolds, who's 44, still dropping hammers, Ryan DeCenzo, who's 36 and literally skating better than he probably ever has, then these guys show us that the speed we lose muscle and strength and the speed that we drop the intensity of our skating doesn't need to be so fast. And the key to all this is largely found in what Reynolds and DeCenzo are doing. So your muscles are divided into fibers, and these fibers are activated in groups called motor units. Now, some of these motor units are small, and they produce really low forces, whereas some of them are big and they produce really large forces. Now the size of those motor units and the amount that are activated at a specific time is going to depend on the intensity of the thing you're doing and how much force is needed to do that thing. So for example, if you're just picking a pen up off the table, you're probably only going to activate a few of the really small motor units because the pen's so light. If you were going to activate all of the motor units to do that thing, not only would it waste a shitload of energy, but you'd create so much force you'd probably throw the pen across the table. Whereas if you're a hysterical mother who's lifting a Fiat Panda off her child's leg, then you're going to need to activate pretty much all of your motor units, all of that muscle, because the task needs so much more force. So we can put skating on a similar graph where the type of skating we're doing and the intensity of it is going to activate either more or less of those motor units, and either more of the smaller ones or more of the larger ones. So for example, if you're doing really high intensity stuff like jumping down gaps, skating handrails, or popping as high as you can, then you're going to activate more of those larger motor units. Whereas if you're skating more chilled spots like slappies, flat or small ledges, then you're going to activate less motor units and more of the smaller ones. Okay, so why is all this important? Well, as we lose that muscle and strength as we age, we tend to lose more of those large, high-powered motor units. And that's really important because we literally can't generate a lot of force and skate at a high intensity if we can't activate those motor units. You literally can't pop as high, or you won't have the strength to absorb such impact. So if you're not doing what I'm about to go over in this next section of the video, you're going to be speeding up that loss of muscle and strength and close the doors to ever being able to pop at the intensity that you used to, or skate at the intensity that you used to. There are two pretty simple, clear things that we need to do. Number one is just eating enough protein, and number two is to just regularly generate enough force where we're activating those large, powerful motor units. Now, I've been picking on slappies a lot throughout this video, partially because I can't do them and it's just a constant reminder of the small, pathetic man that I am. But if we go back to that skate intensity graph, you'll see that it's actually going to be pretty hard to activate those large, powerful motor units regardless of what you're skating. You are going to be doing a better job if you're jumping down gaps, popping as high as you can on a regular basis, but it's still going to be pretty hard, which is where the secret sauce comes in. And I'm sure a lot of you have already guessed what it's going to be. It's resistance training. So with resistance training, we can easily activate those larger motor units we need to protect our muscle and strength. As we fatigue, as we go through different exercises, we're going to start gradually recruiting more of those larger motor units. So as long as we're doing heavy resistance-based exercises and hitting a point of fatigue, we're going to be recruiting those larger units and hitting that intensity that we need to protect our muscle and strength. Now, some general recommendations are really just to hit pretty much all of the muscle groups throughout the whole body, picking different exercises for different muscle groups, about 2 to 3 sets per exercise and 2 to 3 times per week, and going for about 6 to 12 reps for each set, for each exercise that you do, making sure that by the time you finish your last rep, you've got pretty much no more than 2 in the tank left over. So if you've gone for a load for 10 reps, theoretically, if you were going to push to absolute failure, you could do 12, but you couldn't do 14, you couldn't do 15. Now, you can still increase and maintain muscle with higher rep ranges up to about 30 reps, as long as you're getting to failure. But those higher rep ranges aren't going to be as good as lower rep ranges for developing strength. So whatever you go for, just make sure you're jumping around different rep ranges and hitting some of those lower rep ranges for increasing strength as well. And then combining all this with some fast power-based exercises is going to give you the full package. So I'm going to be putting more training related information up on the article that's going along with this video, which I'll put a link for down in the description below, along with a link for the MBD program as well, which is a full resistance training program that's going to be including all of these different exercises and styles of training that I've been going over in this video. And if you're there thinking, I'm too old for this shit, I'm sorry mate, but that's not a valid excuse, because aging doesn't affect your ability to put on muscle and strength. So regardless of what age you are, you can still make massive improvements. And if you're a younger skater thinking, mate, this stuff doesn't affect me right now, I'm still feeling fresh, I've got my muscles, look at my bicep. Well, that's not a good excuse, because you are going to get to the point where it does affect you, and if you get one step ahead, you're not only going to probably delay the time that it actually kicks in, but you're going to raise your muscle and strength to a certain point where you are declining from a higher point. So it's going to take longer to hit that threshold where you feel like you can only skate slappies. So to sum it all up, we lose muscle and strength as we age, but we have a lot of power over how fast it happens, and we can even reverse it up to a certain point. So keep skating whatever you like to skate slappies, skate ledges, skate gaps, whatever it might be. Just do your best to maintain the intensity of the skating that you're doing. As you get older, that's probably going to take more effort, but it's definitely going to be worth it to just push yourself to keep that intensity. And whatever you do choose to skate, just make sure you combine it with some resistance training exercises. And who knows, mate, maybe we are going to see someone skating Hollywood high at 70. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to leave this spot right now. I'm not filming around homeless people's pants as I was in the last video, but I am next to some kind of weird shrine where a sacrifice of a bird seems to have occurred. There's some shells around. It's a little bit creepy. I didn't want to stand in it to film the video, but I am about a meter away from it. So I'm going to leave here now, and I'm kind of happy about that.